Good evening, crafters, and welcome to Fun Fold Friday. I'm Dorene Decibus, and I'm with Begins with Ink and Paper, and I'm really happy to be sharing with you tonight another fun fold. So let me show you what I'll be using this evening, and we'll get started. I don't know about where you are, but boy, it turned so windy today. And driving home, it was 38 degrees. The wind was whipping. It started out raining, and then still at 38 degrees, it was snowing for most of the way home. So I think we're going to have a little bit of a storm this weekend, or at least tonight. So today is February 17th, and that means we have 11 days left of celebration. So I wanted to share two celebration products with you tonight. They are two of my favorite of the celebration products. First is this adorable owl set. It just has three really cute owls. We're going to be using this one tonight with the bow tie, and three different sentiments, and I'm going to actually use all three sentiments in my card tonight. So my friend, it's your day, and hoot hoot, you're so cute. So we'll be using that for tonight. And I'm going to be using this designer series paper. It's called the Dandy Delight, and it has 48 sheets of paper. The owl set is free with a $50 qualifying purchase, and the Dandy Designs 12 by 12 paper is free with a $100 purchase. And it coordinates with Balmy Blue, Calypso Coral, Coastal Cabana, Fresh Freesia, Granny Apple Green, Mango Melody, and Petal Pink. So let me show you some of these colors for tonight. So here we go. So I'm going to show you both sides. So we have some beautiful patterns. The patterns do repeat. This pattern is very, very subtle. And I'm not sure that you can see it even on the camera, but it's a very subtle petal pink. And then the back is some zigzags with all of those colors. And then we have several different dot patterns. Here we have the Fresh Freesia with the Mango Melody and the some of the petal pink, and then a really pretty pattern, petal pink, on the other side. This is a pattern that also repeats itself in the different colors. And then we have the same pattern I showed you first, with all the different flowers on it, but in Fresh Freesia. We have just a grid paper with the Fresh Freesia, and on the other side is a really pretty plaid. Some more stars in Calypso Coral, and on the back side, another really pretty plaid. Some bold stripes in the Mango Melody, and then that square, like rounded corner square pattern. Here we have the Balmy Blue with the check pattern on the back side. Some Balmy Blue dots with Balmy Blue bold stripes. Some mint macaron with that pretty color, pretty pattern, very subtle pattern, and another plaid. Some Granny Apple Green stripes, and then the dots on the other side. And then some more of those zigzag lines with the green pattern on this side. So we're going to use that Granny Apple Green pattern. We're going to use this plaid that has the Granny Apple Green in it. And then we're going to use this square pattern in our card tonight. So we're going to be using three patterns of the designer series paper. And we're going to be using the Tahitian Tide cardstock. So what do we need? For this, we're going to need a 4.5 by 11 piece, and we're going to be scoring it at 2.5, 3 3/4, 6 3/4, and 8 1/4. I will be posting this in the comments under the Facebook Live. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you will see the dimensions underneath the video. For the rest of the cardstock that we're going to need, we are going to need 3 different patterns of the Dandy Designer Series paper. The first piece that we're going to use is pattern 1, and this is pattern 1, and it's 3 3/4 of an inch by 4, and that is not, I need to trim that down a bit. I'm using it a little wider. Let me go, because I like how it looks. So I'm using actually 1 3/4. I think I typed that wrong. It's 1 3/4 times 4. So let me just fix that on my, let me grab a pencil. So this is actually 1 3/4. I just typed that incorrectly. So 1 3/4 by 4. This is pattern 1. Pattern 2 is 3 7/8 by 3 7/8. Pattern 3, we need 2 pieces, 2 1/4 by 4, and a smaller piece, 1/2 inch by 2.5 inches. And then for basic white, we need 2 pieces of 4 by 4. We need a piece that is 2 inches by 3 3/4 inches. We need a scrap for the owl, and we need a scrap for the punch. And I think I used this punch last week. I used the double oval punch. It has a scallop edge for the longer. Let me just make sure you can see it without a glare. Just really wants to be glary tonight. Maybe if I just set it down, you'll be able to see it better. Yes, there you go. So those are 2 sizes of the punch. And I'm only using the smaller piece. So I'm going to do my stamping first, stamping and coloring first, and then we will cut, score, and put this card together. So the first thing that I need to do on one of my pieces of the 4 by 4 is to stamp my greeting. So I am going to start with my friend. I didn't even show you the card. Sorry about that. Here's the card we're going to be making. It is my friend, and it opens up from the top, and you can see how it's a triple layer card. So we have the My Friend, It's Your Day at the top. In the middle, we have the Hoot Hoot, You're So Cute. And then at the end, there's a place for you to do some writing for the person who's getting the card. So I'm going to start with some Granny Green ink, and I am going to stamp at the top of this 4 by 4 piece. Make sure it's nice and straight. I am going to stamp my friend. And then underneath it, I'm going to stamp It's Your Day. Now, I always like to do my stamping before I add any paper, and that is because there are 2 sides to a piece of paper. And having 2 sides allows me, if I make a mistake, I can fix it. I'm going to keep this ink out, so I'm going to set that aside for a moment. And I'm going to take my Hoot Hoot, You're So Cute, and I'm going to stamp that in the center of the oval. There we go. So all of our greetings are stamped. And now I am going to use the Early Espresso ink. And I'm going to be stamping my owl. Some products for celebration are starting to sell out. I know that the paper that goes with the dainty flowers is all sold out. And so just be watching the page, because you will see that as we get closer to the end of celebration, things will start to sell out. So for blends today, I'm going to be using Granny Apple Green. I'm going to be using Tahitian Tide. I'm going to be using Crumb Cake. And I'm going to be using the Daffodil Delight. So I'm going to start by using the dark Daffodil Delight. and I'm going to color in the beak. Now, I am not going to try to do any shading with the Daffodil Delight. That's why I'm starting with the darker ink. I want to use the darker ink for the beak and the feet. And like I said, I'm not doing any shading. I'm going to do the same thing with the Tahitian Tide. I'm not going to use the dark for this one. I'm going to use the blue for the eyes, and I don't want to do any shading, so it doesn't matter. It's whatever I'm going to use. You will see people using their blends or other alcohol markers in different orders. I normally start with my lighter color if I'm going to be doing any blending. So I am going to start by coloring in the entire bow tie in the light Granny Apple Green. So I'm just going to add just this light color on the entire bow. And then I'm going to add some shading, and I'm going to use the light color again to blend. And so I'm going to use the stamped image, has a place where it should be shaded. So I've darkened that in, let you see that a little closer. And now I could leave it like that, and some people would, but I like to actually blend the colors together. So I'm going to take my lighter and I'm going to blend that out. I'm going to leave some of the lighter a little bit light by the edges, but that's how I have always colored. It was how I was taught. I was taught by someone who was, I guess you could say, a master colorer, and that's how she taught me to color, and I've done it that way. But I have seen lots of different stampers color dark first, light second, and it is really up to you and your preference. When I first started using the blends, I did not blend anything together, and I only used them as a coloring tool, just like kind of a regular marker. I liked them because they just, there were no streaks or no lines. So now I am going to want some of my owl to be this light crumb cake. So I am starting by coloring the entire owl the light crumb cake, and I will add, using the dark crumb cake, where I want those shadows and darker images to be. Now, if this was a super big image, I would be coloring it in sections and then adding my highlights and my dark tones. But because it's such a small image, I am coloring the entire thing because the ink is not going to totally dry in the time it takes to color the image. But with my darker shade, I am going to I'm not going to color everything in. So I'm again using my stamp and the image to show me where I want to add some of those darker highlights. And then, there it's just the top. And then I'm going to just come back and just smooth it all out. And there'll still be some lighter and darker places from where I've colored. So that's good for the head. And then I want to take, and again, I'm going by where the stamp is telling me to color it in, and I'm also going to the edges of the feathers. And now I'll do my blending. And there we go. We've got our little owl all done. He is so stinking cute. So my next step is to cut this out, but in the magic of television, I have already cut one out and have it ready to go, and I am going to use this for another card, and that way it'll just save me time. I'm sure you know how to cut out an image, so you don't need to see me doing that. Okay, so it's time to start putting this together. So what I'm going to do is start by cutting my paper and scoring it, and then we'll get everything together. So as I said, I need a sheet that is 4 1/4 by 11. So I'm going to cut this piece of cardstock right in half. And I normally score my piece first, but because this is going to be scored in lots of different places, I am just going to cut, and I only need a half of this. Now, I'm going to need to put out my arm so I can do my scoring. And it needs to be scored at 2 1/2. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to make sure I'm using my correct blade. And then it needs to be scored at 3 3/4. All right, and then we're going to go to 6 3/4. That's why I need the arm out. And then finally I need it at 8 1/4. I love that my paper cutter has both the scoring and the cutting blade on it. So now we're ready to just start putting this all together. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I am going to start folding my card. So if I look at the side view of the card, this gives you an idea of where I need my mountains and valleys and all of that good stuff. So I'm going to start with, this needs to be down, so I'm going to start here, fold that over, and then I'm going to fold this way. And then I'm going to bring this over, and then I'm going to fold this way. So when my piece of cardstock is folded, this is what it's going to look like, 3 distinct panels. All right? So I'm going to start with my piece that I've put no stamping on, and I'm going to use my stamp and seal and add this to the entire piece. So this piece is just an 1/8 of an inch on each side. So I'm going to add that. Then towards the top, we are going to put this little strip. I'm going to cut it and make it into a banner, which is very easy to do. You don't need any special tools. Just put a little slit right in the center and then cut from the edge to that center, and you get a pretty good banner. This banner is going to go towards the top because I do want it to be covered. And I'm going to put it right about here. Make sure it's centered straight. And then my hoot hoot, you're so cute, is going to go right over that piece. There we go. That section is done. This section here is going to get this piece of designer series paper on the bottom. So again, I'm just going to add my adhesive. Get those little clips out of the way. And I am going to bring this right to the end. It's not going to be layered on. It is just going to be there like that. I am going to take my owl, and he's going to go right here. And so I am going to add some dimensionals to him to hold him up, keep him just a little bit raised to give it a little dimension. There we go. Take those little pieces off. These owls are very easy to cut out. They don't have a lot of little edges and curves that you need to take care of. So we will put him right down here. And then I'm going to take some sequins and add to the front of the card. I'm just going to use my scissors here and put, I think, one here and here and here, just to give it a little bling there. So that section is ready. And then the final section is super easy. It is just taking this piece of white. I'm not stamping anything on it. I'm going to leave it blank so I am able to write my message. And now I'm ready to start attaching these pieces to the card. I'm going to actually attach my adhesive right to the card base because I don't want to put it all over the back of my pieces because they're all going to be hanging off. So I'm going to start with my middle piece and just line that up so it's centered and adhere it. This piece is going to go under here and it's going to actually fit on the whole panel. It's the only one that does, so I'm going to put my adhesive on the back. And just, what I want to do is have this, oh perfect, it's going to cover it anyway. Just wanted to make sure. So I'm going to center this on this piece here. And then on my front panel, I'm going to do the same thing and just add my adhesive so that I can add this piece of this panel to this part of the cardstock. And oh my goodness, is that cute or what? So sweet. And it will fit in a normal envelope. It is a little bit thick in the middle, so it might take some extra postage. But there's our card for tonight, and I have a couple of cards I want to just show you that use this adorable owl. So I'm just going to bring a couple out. This one uses the owl with the birthday hat, and I'm using the On the Farm Designer Series paper, which is also a celebration. Let's see, this one that I just put out is using some of the same colors, though I'm using the Pool Party cardstock and the Bermuda Bay, and using some of those colors in the owl's hat. So just a couple of ideas. You're going to be seeing some ideas from, I thought I had a couple more, but I don't see them. I must have moved them. So I have two for you to look at. So 2 extra designs of the owls, and then this one right here. So pretty cute stuff. So celebration is 11 more days. I will be back next Friday night with another Fun Fold Friday. Make sure you check out my YouTube channel and subscribe, and make sure you're liking my page and sharing my videos. I appreciate it. Have a great weekend, everyone, and I'll see you next Friday night for Fun Fold Friday. Good night, everybody.